What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes. Here we are, a couple days after the National Championship football game, and it's a little depressing that there is no more college football, but that was a hell of a way to end the season. It was a game that I woke up the next morning and said, Brodes, was that real? Did that actually happen? I honestly think that was one of the best national championship games that has been played in a while. And I know last year Clemson beat Bama on the last couple seconds in the game. And I prefer Bama to win the national championship. I'm somebody who enjoys how great they are every single year. And I know that that's not common. That's like saying somebody who doesn't like the Patriots, they want the Patriots to win the Super Bowl every year. Nobody wants that to happen. Let's recap this game. So, Alabama ends up driving the football downfield looking great. They kick a field goal. They make it. Yet, they have to get pushed back even farther because of a penalty. And then the kicker absolutely shanks the football to keep the score 0-0. Now, keep that in mind because that is a crucial play that ends up affecting the football game. In the second quarter, Georgia nails a field goal. Make that 2 field goals in a row to take a 6-0 lead. And then they get a touchdown, 13-0 after the second quarter. Jalen Hurts clearly struggled early. That first half, he was 3 for 8 for 21 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So what does Nick Saban do? I'll tell you what he does. He throws in his backup quarterback. Honestly, the balls on this man, Nick Saban, to do something like that. You're talking about Jalen Hurts, who has brought you to the national championship, who has won you about 25 football games in his career, and you're going to sit him in the national championship game to bring in your backup quarterback. Now, I know that Nick Saban obviously knew what kind of talent this guy had. He probably outperforms Jalen Hurts in practice, but since Jalen Hurts wins them football games, he didn't have the opportunity to ever put him in. You had to throw the football against this Georgia squad. And it's pretty obvious that Nick Saban knew this. He probably knows that Tua is his name, can throw the football way better than Jalen Hurts. The threat with Hurts is he's a great runner as well. But that wasn't working, clearly. And you're talking about a defensive coordinator who was with Nick Saban, Kirby Smart that is, on the other side, who has game planned against all these other teams with Nick Saban for so many years. So he knows what kind of ways that Nick Saban game plans for games, essentially. So, to keep moving forward with this football game, at the half, 13-0. I was thinking, there's no way this is going to happen. There's no way that Alabama is going to not be able to move the ball in the second half. There's just no way. Well, that's when Tua comes in with 8:52 in the third quarter and gets a touchdown pass, a 6-yard touchdown pass to make the score 13-7. Georgia responds with an 80-yard touchdown pass from Jake Fromm. 20-7 is now the score. This play was beautiful. They zoomed in to see if the receiver actually stepped out of bounds, and 95% of me believed he was out of bounds. But the call on the field was a touchdown, and the way it works is you need to be 100%, and the evidence has to be 100% he stepped out. They didn't give it much time to look at it. They called it a touchdown. I like that because replays are getting ridiculous nowadays in professional sports, or not even professional, college too. So you just have to go with it. I like the no call there, but I've seen worse called. Let's just keep it that way. I have seen way worse called. Alabama's field goal makes the score 20-10 headed into the fourth quarter. Down 10 headed into the fourth quarter, Alabama was. 9:24 remaining in the fourth. Alabama drains another field goal, 20-13. 3:49 left. Tua throws a touchdown, 20-20. 3 minutes and 49 left. They come back and tie the game at the end of regulation. Alabama has a chance to win the ball game on a field goal. Shanks it completely left. Not even close. Not even close. Clearly the nerves got just brought out in him. My buddy texts me and goes, do you think this guy is dropping a load in his pants right now at this very moment? And I was like, honestly, it's just like free throws. Your body's just so used to doing it. You're a field goal kicker. You go out there, and it just comes second nature. Your body just takes over. Muscle memory. Boy, was I wrong. It wasn't even close. Nick Saban was clearly pissed on the sideline, as anybody else would be, a head coach in that situation, to be down like that at the end of regulation, have a chance to win the football game, and your kicker just shanks it. So we go to overtime. Georgia gets the ball first. They settle for a 51-yard field goal attempt to take the lead 23-20. So while Alabama had some struggles, now granted, their field goal kicker made 2. But Georgia's draining 51-yarders. So Tua has the ball. And all they need is a touchdown to win the national championship. After not playing all year except for garbage time, here's your opportunity, buddy. Here it is. He takes a sack for a loss of 16 yards. And I'm thinking, man, that is the last thing that you honestly can do. Because you have no trust in your kicking game at this point. So to keep moving yourself back in overtime when your kicker just shanked a ball to win it and to shank the first field goal too? What's he respond with? Looking off the safety and hitting his receiver, Devontae Smith, for a 41-yard touchdown pass to win the game. Right after he takes a loss that looked troubling. That looked like he was in trouble. He drains it. He just drains it. Puts it right into the receiver's hands. 41-yard touchdown. Bama wins it. An emotional roller coaster for Nick Saban. He says that was the happiest he's been in a long time with that W. He has now won 6 national championships. Unbelievable. I was so excited for Alabama. One thing that's crazy to me, now if this is an example of why the college football playoff needs to expand. If Wisconsin beat Ohio State, this Alabama squad wouldn't have even been in the college football playoff, and you're talking about a team that just won the whole entire thing. You gotta expand the field. You have to. You gotta give teams like UCF, who goes undefeated, a chance to win. A team that beat Auburn, who beat 2 of the 4 teams in the college football playoff. Now, I think they're getting a little out of hand with this whole entire national championship stuff that they're doing around campus for going 13-0. You did not win the national championship. But I just think that there needs to be some type of improvement with how many teams are going to be involved. Because like I just said, you're talking about the team that just won the national championship, Alabama, who wasn't even going to be in the top 4 if Wisconsin just beat Ohio State a couple weeks before. So I don't know. Do they expand into 8 teams? I've read a lot about it, and apparently they are enjoying where it's at right now at this very moment. To think that there was a time where 1 and 2 were the only 2 to play for the national championship is pretty wild. That is so hard to do. And I think expanding it to something like 8 teams, where teams like UCF can get a chance to win a national championship, would be so cool for the game of college football. Because now you're giving teams that aren't always a constant powerhouse, but still have good seasons, a chance to actually be able to bring a title home to their college. To think, though, that Alabama has 5 national championships in the last 9 years is pretty crazy, and this is something that is really dominant in sports. Something that this is why I love dominance, because this is something that isn't going to last forever, and it's just crazy to think that there are programs that have runs like this. I've never been a part of a fandom of my teams, clearly being a Philadelphia sports fan, where I saw dominance of just straight championships. Now, back in the 08, 09, 10, we had the Phillies, but I only saw 1 championship out of that team that realistically could have had 2, losing to the Yankees in the back-to-back season of 09. But everyone but the Patriots, I love dominance, right? I mean, I always talk about this. LeBron James, Serena Williams, even when it comes to athletes that are not strictly the team, just the athletes in general, I love them. And Alabama, I love them. Definitely not the Patriots, though. And I think that has to do with me growing up playing hockey in the Boston, New England area and having to deal with those fans that just piss me off because they always win and they're so cocky about it. So I have to deal with them more. So with that being said, with the national championship, it was a great game. It really was. And I can't believe college football is over, but that just means we move on to college basketball. Now we're in the hot stretch, the hot run of some college hoops. And last night it was a Super Tuesday, which is awesome. Some great college hoops games on last night. And now it's time to actually be able to sit down and watch all the college basketball games. Kentucky ends up beating Texas A&M last night on the Super Tuesday, 74-73, after giving Texas A&M a bunch of great deep looks last night to almost win the ball game, but A&M just couldn't handle the shots late and could not drain them. There was a play at the end of the game, though. They had 3 seconds left. They were up. The score was 74-73. A&M had the ball. They inbound it. They heave it a good amount of the court away, and Kentucky's defender was grabbing onto the player who was down low in the post. They didn't call a foul, and that's how the game ends, which is pretty frustrating for A&M because it clearly was a foul on the Kentucky player. And John Calipari was pissed after that ball game. He was mad with his team. He was mad at the team. He's got 5 freshmen that start. And you just can't leave guys wide open for chances to lose the basketball game late in the game like that. You just can't. While that game was going on, you had Baylor and West Virginia. And West Virginia ends up winning 57-54. And this West Virginia team, I'll tell you, is something serious. The Big 12 this year is probably the best conference in college basketball. No doubt about it. But seriously, this West Virginia team is national championship caliber. And I know the way they play is great with their coach, and they like to play the press, and they like to have great D. But you got guys like Carter, who is probably the best defender in college basketball. And you got, and he even kind of created a little more of an offensive side, too. He could put the basketball in the hoop. And when they played Oklahoma a couple nights ago, he was shutting down Trae Young. Now, speaking of Trae Young, Oklahoma played Texas Tech last night, and that was a top 10 matchup, 9 versus 8. He struggled the first half. Now, I noticed with him, he's either really hot or he gets shut down pretty hard. In the first half, he was held to his smallest amount of points in a half, but he came back and had an astonishing second half, putting up 22 points, and they end up winning 75-65. And his dad actually played at Texas Tech back in the day. Texas Tech is another squad that's serious this year. UNC, a struggling UNC squad based off of what they're used to, being only ranked 20, beats Boston College last night 96-66. Purdue escapes a game against Michigan 70-69. And I was watching that game last night too, and one of the things I noticed is Isaac Haas is still there. And there's always these guys in college basketball where you're like, man, how many years has this guy played? It's the same with Grayson Allen. He ends up getting 17.6 boards. When he plays the game, he's just so calm down low. He's just so poised with the basketball. He's so big. He's so dominant. I love watching him play. And that's going to be a serious team for this tournament this March. Being ranked 5. Number 13, Seton Hall falls to Marquette 84-64. Wasn't even close. And Kansas, at home, won against Iowa State 83-78. And I say that because Kansas has lost 2 home games this year. And under Bill Self, that is not a very common thing at all. So I had my eyes on that game. I was thinking, how interesting would it be to see Kansas fall again at home in conference play? Now tonight there are some big games on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock. You have Pitt hosting Duke. And Marvin Bagley is a beast. He is my favorite player in college basketball this year over Trae Young. I really do think that. Now, I know Trae Young is exciting. He's Steph Curry-like. Even Steph Curry said he's amazing, what he does with the basketball. But something about Bagley, I know how great he is going to be in the NBA. And the way he plays the game is just very entertaining for me. Trae Young is very Steph Curry-like, and everyone who watches Steph Curry knows that he's a magician, and everything he does is exciting. But something about Marvin Bagley's game, the way he takes over a basketball game, is truly something special. Now, Michigan State, after their loss against Ohio State when they were ranked 1, host Rutgers tonight. But the game of the night has to be number 1, Villanova, hosting Xavier, number 10, Fox Sports 1. My feet will be up for that one, watching every play. Jay Wright with his pinstripe suits. Let's see how they do. They're favored 9.5. And I like this Villanova team. I really do. I think they have something special this year. This could be another national championship winning team. But if I had to choose right now, something about this West Virginia squad really sticks out to me. Now, I know there's a lot of time left in the season, and I know it's not March yet, but something about this team. I know they have some tough matchups coming up. They have to play Texas Tech on Saturday. Then, 2 days later, Kansas at home. Then they play Texas, and then against number 16 TCU, and then against number 21 Kentucky. And then in a few weeks after that, Oklahoma, TCU, Kansas again. So they have a tough stretch. I'm telling you, this Big 12 is something serious this year, and that's awesome to see. But this West Virginia team has something not very easy to handle when it comes to their upcoming schedule. So I will definitely be looking out for them to see how they do. And Eagles. Now the Eagles host the Falcons Saturday, 4:30, first game of the divisional round. Am I nervous? I'd be lying if I said no. So yes, I'm a little bit nervous, but I do think that this team has enough to be able to take down the Falcons at home. I think something that in the beginning I didn't really process is how loud, how crazy these fans at the Lincoln Financial Field are going to be. It's going to be a tough environment to play in for the Atlanta Falcons. Our defense is one of the best defenses in the league. It's going to be hard to run on us. It's going to be hard to throw on us. We just have to have Nick Foles be doable, be manageable. He scares me, yes. Do they take a play out of Nick Saban's playbook, and if we're down 13, 17, 20 to nothing at halftime, throw in Nate Sudfeld, and the dude ends up throwing 3 touchdowns and winning a playoff game for the Birds? Now, am I being a little ridiculous? Yes, I am. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Nick Foles is a pro, and he's been there before, so he'll have, obviously, a little bit more of a emotional handle of himself to be able to get this done. I mean, he's played in a playoff game before, and he played very well in that game against the Saints that we ended up not winning. Another thing is with the national media and even local media, people are all about us losing, saying, we don't have a chance anymore. And our players, the Philadelphia Eagles, everyone in that locker room knows that this is happening, and they're going to use that to build fire. They're going to do that for energy. Use all that stuff for energy. So they have something to play for. What do you mean we're not going to win because Carson Wentz is down? That's the kind of mentality they're going to play with, and that's great. I mean, it can't hurt. It definitely cannot hurt to have that kind of passion. Now, looking at the other games that are going on Saturday, the Patriots and the Titans, they're just going to blow through that squad. There is no way the Titans are going to be able to go in to Foxborough and win that game. There's just no way. I can't imagine something like that happening, but I obviously would not be mad. There's no way Mariota is going to be able to thrive in an environment like that in the playoffs. I'm sorry, it just won't happen. It won't happen. Now, the Steelers host the Jags, and when they played earlier this year in Week 5, this is the game where Big Ben ends up throwing 5 interceptions and had probably the worst game of his entire career. And one of the Steelers players came out the other day, I think it was yesterday, and was talking about how I don't care where, I don't care if it's in hell, if it's in Haiti, or if it's in Foxborough, we are going to beat the Patriots the next time we play them. And to me, what are you saying? You still have to go against the Jags, who has the second best defense in the National Football League. Don't be thinking ahead of yourself. You have to win a football game first. So to me, maybe the Steelers aren't ready for this mentally. Maybe they're thinking ahead. Maybe they think we're worried about New England. Don't get too far ahead of yourselves. You're talking about a Jaguars team that has a great defense. Now, I don't think their offense is going to be able to do that well against the Steelers, especially because they struggled against the Titans squad to move the football. But if I was a Steelers fan, that would concern me, that they are focused on New England. I know the AFC is a little weak, and there is a good chance you're going to beat the Jags, but last time you guys played in Week 5, do we have to go over that again? Would you want somebody to remind you guys what happened? And the Vikings Saints. I don't know who's going to win that game. Being in Minnesota, they're favored 4.5. But I can see Drew Brees and that squad beating Minnesota in Minnesota. I don't think that that's a long shot at all. You have a quarterback like Drew Brees who knows what he's doing, who's won a Super Bowl. That's going to be a really good football game. I think that could be a gun-slinging shootout, even though Case Keenum's not, Drew Brees, but I could see it happening. Speaking of the lines, though, the Eagles are home, keep in mind. Atlanta's a 3-point favorite. Now, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? The disrespect. And this is what the players are using in the locker room. I know that there are signs being held up in the NovaCare Center that these players put up for motivation due to the fact that they're being disrespected. And hey, I mean, I've been on the record being very disappointed, having no faith, being upset when Carson went down, but I can't control my emotions at that time. When it was fresh in my mind, yeah, absolutely. Do I have that much faith in Nick Foles? Not really. But when it comes to this football game, at home with this ruthless fans, with this defense, can we beat the Atlanta Falcons? I mean, yeah, right? Why couldn't we? It wouldn't be some ridiculous miracle if we were to beat the Falcons. Now, if the Titans beat the Patriots, yeah, that's a little bit more crazy. But it's not ridiculous to think that the Eagles can beat the Falcons. That's just not. Now, my Sixers and my Flyers are starting to get back to it. The Sixers are in London, so they had a little bit of a break. But tomorrow afternoon on NBA TV at 3 o'clock, they are playing the Celtics in London. So finally, after a little break, still on that win streak, we got to play a tough Celtics squad. And I'm excited. I'm finally excited. And same with the Fly guys, because they had their little week bye. But I am afraid of, these months for both teams. And I've said this last episode too. This is a month for both teams that is detrimental to where we're going to be in the future, I believe. We have really tough opponents for the Sixers. This is our next 5 games. Celtics, Raptors, Celtics, Bucks, Grizzlies. Those 4 games, the next 4 games, could you imagine what kind of positivity that can do if we were to win those games? Beating the Celtics twice, beating the Raptors, beating the Bucks, and then riding an 8-game win streak. The kind of confidence that can do for the locker room. I mean, Embiid has to play these games, and there's no back-to-back, so there's no reason why I can't imagine him not. We're talking about 4 games, or 4 days before a game, 3 days in between games. Embiid should be playing these games. And then I hope this 1-week break for the Fly guys didn't hurt their momentum run, because it was serious. They were on a legitimate run. And I ran through these last time, but Devils, Rangers, Leafs, Devils, Capitals, Lightning, Capitals, Devils. These teams are dead serious. So, we had a week off. We can recover. We can get the bodies going, getting back to being 100%, which is obviously a big piece to a season. But sometimes when you're riding the high, it's better to just keep playing. Keep riding the high. Keep that momentum going. Keep winning games. And a week break can kind of hurt because you're not in game mode. Your practices are a little bit more lackadaisical. You're trying to recover. So we need a big win. This game, I don't want a loss, obviously. But we're going to the Prudential Center. This Devils team is good. 22-11-8. I want to win on Saturday night. I want to win. So with that being said, I am going to end this episode here. Thank you so much for listening. The National Championship game was phenomenal. The college basketball season is now in its prime, and besides the NFL playoffs, is definitely my pride and joy along with the NBA season for the next couple months. Now, I'll keep the hockey going, absolutely. But, I mean, the NFL and college basketball for me is 1A, 1B. I can't even choose. I don't know which one the 1A is or which one the 1B is either. I can't choose. I love both so much. So we were going to be in full effect of college basketball. So everyone have a great day, and I will see you guys next time.